Hello viewers! With the arrival of these hot, almost summer-like days, we all want the aircon in our cars to work flawlessly, keeping us nicely cooled down. Otherwise, every trip we take might, and probably will, become an excruciating ordeal, with us arriving at our destination exhausted and agitated. Now, as I'm sure none of you want this, let's see what's most likely to cause the aircon in our cars to stop working. Several things can cause issues with the aircon's operation, ranging from refrigerant leaks and hardware malfunctions to broken ventilation or its control unit. But let's go through each of them in detail. Your AC system is filled with refrigerant, which is under high pressure, and it can reach 15 bars when the car is running. For the aircon to work properly, it needs this pressure and a specific amount of refrigerant. If there is a leak somewhere, the refrigerant will gradually escape and the AC will eventually stop working. The car's aircon has one or two pressure switches that monitor the pressure inside the air conditioning system for safety reasons. Basically, if the pressure gets too high, it will shut down the AC compressor to prevent any further damage, which also stops the cooling. The same will happen if the pressure gets too low. But if the AC pressure switch is faulty, it can shut down the AC compressor, even if it shouldn't, and this will cause the AC system not to function at all. The AC compressor is powered by the engine through a serpentine belt, and it's responsible for pressuring up the refrigerant and pumping it around. Being the only moving part in the aircon system, the compressor is prone to wear and mechanical failure, which stops it from generating sufficient pressure and causes the AC system to blow hot air only. If the AC compressor breaks, you'll probably have to flush the whole AC system afterward to remove any metal fragments. The AC compressor has a clutch inside its pulley, which detaches it from the serpentine belt when the aircon is turned off. If this clutch is too worn, it may stop the AC compressor from starting. In most cars, the clutch can be replaced separately, although sometimes this might not be economically feasible. Also, many newer cars have a variable AC compressor without a conventional clutch to turn it on and off. The condenser is installed in front of the car, where it cools down the refrigerant before it goes inside the cabin. Its position, however, makes it exposed to stones and other debris that may damage it when traveling at high speeds. This often causes the condenser to start leaking refrigerant and it needs to be replaced. To remove the heat properly, the condenser needs air passing through it. When moving at low speeds, this is done by a fan which sits in front of the condenser or behind it. As you may imagine, if this fan fails, the aircon won't be cooling down very efficiently while driving slowly. The cabin air filter is responsible for filtering the air that enters the vehicle's air conditioning system. The filter catches all the dust and impurities before they enter the passenger compartment, which means they can become clogged over time. And such filter can affect how well the aircon cools down the car. So that's why it's recommended to check and clean the cabin air filter frequently. When you adjust the temperature on the AC control unit, there needs to be something that regulates how hot the air entering the cabin will be. This part is called the blend door actuator, and it controls a flap that mixes hot and cold air going through the vents. If this actuator is faulty, your car might blow hot air from the vents even with the aircon being fully on. The last probable cause on this list is a faulty AC controller, which essentially is a computer that operates the ventilation and the aircon. If this fails, it may send the wrong signal to the blend door actuator or fail to engage the compressor, causing warm air to be blown through the vents. The air conditioning control unit is often very expensive, so you should check other possible causes on this list before replacing it. Having gone through all the components that may cause the aircon to stop working, it's now time to see where they might be found in our cars. This might be obvious for things like the AC control unit, which sits in the middle of the dashboard, or the refrigerant fluid running through the system. And as for the other components, well, for starters, we have the aircon compressor sitting at the side of the engine, with the serpentine belt spinning its clutch. Then at the front of the car are the condenser and the fan that cools it down when the AC is on. Somewhere on these metal pipes you'll find a pressure switch with some wires attached to it. These valves here are refill ports through which the refrigerant fluid is added when needed. Lastly, we have an evaporator buried deep inside the dashboard, with access to it being very difficult. And of course, the cabin filter, which can usually be found on the outside, under the windshield, or in some cars, behind the glove compartment. So that would be all the major components that make the aircon system work. But if it's not working, we'll want to figure out which one to blame. And here's how we can narrow down the list of potential suspects, so to say. First, start the car, turn on the aircon and set the blower to maximum speed. Then leave it running for a few minutes and then check the vents. If there's no air coming through, then the problem might be with the blower motor's operation, so that's what you should focus on first. But if the air coming out of the vents seems warm, the aircon is not working as it should, so it's time to see what's happening under the hood. Here, the first thing you want to find is the AC compressor and see if it's engaged. With the aircon on, you should see its central part rotating most of the time, but if it's idle, then the compressor is not on for some reason. Now, assuming the compressor kicks in as it should, let's check the fan in the front, which should be spinning. While at it, carefully touch the refrigerant lines going to and from the compressor. If they are hot despite the fan blowing at full speed, the condenser might be clogged. Then we have the AC pressure switch, whose operation might be checked with the multimeter. But to know what values to expect, you'll need a repair manual or another reliable source of information for your car. While on the subject of pressure in the lines, this can be used to assess the refrigerant level. If it's low, the pressure within the AC system will be below a certain limit, which for most cars is around 30 or 40 psi on the low pressure side. If all this seems to be working fine, but you still aren't getting any cold air through the vents, the problem might be in the evaporator, blend doors, or the AC control unit. Lastly, while doing all these checkups, you should also remove the cabin filter and see what's it like. If it looks dirty, replace it, as this will keep the whole ventilation system clean and germ-free. With all this said and done, only one question remains. How much will it cost to repair a broken aircon? And as with pretty much anything else in a car, this largely depends on what's causing the issue. The least expensive will it be if the refrigerant only needs to be topped up. You can buy a bottle of it for less than 20 bucks and refill the aircon yourself, as this is an easy job. Still, this won't help much if there is a severe leak, as the newly added refrigerant will shoot straight out. In that case, you'll first have to find the leak, which can be a broken seal or a cracked line, and repair it. Another fairly inexpensive aircon component is the pressure switch. These are not overly complex parts and usually cost less than 50 bucks. Even more, replacing them is a simple job as well, that usually only requires a ratchet and a suitable socket. If the fan is broken, you can source a used one in a good condition or pick up a new aftermarket replacement part for approximately $100. But things like the compressor, condenser or the evaporator, these can be quite expensive, with prices usually starting at several $100s. And due to the complexity of the job, it's best to have them replaced by a professional, which will add to the expense. So that would be all about the aircon. Why it might not work, what to check if that's the case, and how much it might cost to repair it. I hope this video was helpful, and if so, don't forget to give us a big thumbs up and share it with your friends. But if not, and your aircon is still not blowing any cold air, you might be dealing with a more severe issue. So to continue troubleshooting, check out other videos here or visit our site mechanicbase.com for more detailed automotive repair guides. Bye!